Welcome to Lesson 325, Solving Equations with Fractions. Today we're going to work on solving addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division equations that have fractions. Alright, so you know how to solve these problems. We know that in order to solve x minus 3 equals 12, we have to add 3 to both sides. And we get x minus 0 is 15. X minus 0 is always x, so x is equal to 15. And we know to solve this one, x plus 5 equals 17. We subtract 5 from both sides, we get x plus 0 equals 12, so x has to be equal to 12. It's the same thing when you're working with fractions, except for now you have to add in all of your rules with fractions. So these problems are going to take you a little bit longer. Since we already know how to do all the operations with fractions, I'm only going to go over a couple of problems with you. The rest of the problems that we do not do are going to be your responsibility to do for tomorrow. Right, so pulling up the notes, we're going to do a couple on our own, and you are going to be responsible to do the rest on your own. Okay? I will help you with this one. That may mean that we have to add another one to the end though. Okay, but otherwise you'll do this one on your own and you will do this one on your own. Alright, so we have x plus 1/4 equals 3/8. Because we're adding, and we know that that means we're going to have to subtract, so anytime we have an addition or subtraction equation, you want to make sure to get those denominators to be the same right off the bat. So I know that 1/4, so if I look, I know I can go 4, 8, and with 8 I have 8. So let's use 8 as the common denominator. So I have to multiply the bottom by 2, which means I have to multiply the top by 2. So it gives me 2. Okay, and remember, you can't just say 2 because that means 2 over 1. It has to be 2 over 2, 3 over 3. It has to be the same on top and on bottom. So let's rewrite the problem with our new numbers. X plus 2/8 equals 3/8. I know that to get rid of addition, I use subtraction. To get rid of plus 2/8, I'm going to subtract 2/8. And even though they're fractions, it's the same thing. I end up with x plus 0. Okay, the number rules still apply. I'm adding 2/8 and I'm taking away that same amount, so it's going to get me back to that 0. But what I do to one side, I have to do to the other. I know 3/8 minus 2/8 gives me 1/8 because I can subtract because they're both the same denominator. This is bigger, so I can do 3 minus 2. I know that x has to be equal to 1/8. Now this is where it's going to become especially important to double check your work. So if you put it back into the equation, keep your changed denominator. So this would be 1/8 plus 2/8. Does it equal 3/8? Okay, in this case, 8 and 8, so we get 8. 1 and 2 is 3, so the answer is yes, so we've got it correct. It's the same idea, it's just going to take you a little longer because of your denominators. All right, so I'd like you to try this one on your own. When you come back, we'll go over your answer. All right, so again, I have to change 1/2. I know I can change that denominator to eighths as well. To get to 8, I multiply by 4. What I do to the bottom, I do to the top, so I get 4/8. So I know that x minus 4/8 is equal to 3/8. And it is okay that I wrote it, instead of writing like this, I wrote it like this. That's fine. If you're more comfortable with that, that's absolutely fine. You just have to get used to seeing them this way as well. So I know to get rid of minus 4/8, I have to add 4/8. What I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So in this case, I'm left with x minus 0 is equal to 7/8. So x has to be equal to 7/8. I'm going to put 7/8 back in for x. So 7/8 minus 4/8. Does it equal 3/8? It works, so I know that it's correct. Right, so this one you're going to try on your own. And I'm going to go over this next problem with you. So it is a multiplication problem. And I know that when I multiply and I have fractions, or if I have mixed numbers, that there's some extra steps included. In this case, I'm multiplying a mixed number and I'm getting a mixed number. So I know that I have to change this mixed number to an improper fraction. So I'm going to do that first. So I do my 4 times 4 and I add the 1. So I get d times 4 times 4 is 16 plus 1 is 17 equals 3 times 6 is 18 plus 1 is 19. Now because I'm multiplying and dividing, I don't have to change the denominator, but this is where it gets tricky. When I multiply fractions, or when I divide fractions, I have to divide by I end up multiplying by the reciprocal. So when I divide by 17/4, I divide by 17/4 over here as well. But now this becomes d times 1, okay, because these two things undo each other. But this becomes 19 over 6 times 4 over 17. We have to remember to flip that number for its reciprocal and then to multiply by that reciprocal. Over here I'm left with d. The 6 and the 4 can both be divided by 2, so this is 3, and this is 2. 19 times 2 gives me 38 over 17 times 3 gives me 51. So I get d is equal to 38 over 51. Okay, and I can go back and I can double check that. I can do 38 over 51 times, keep it as an improper fraction, 17 over 4 is equal to, might as well keep it as an improper fraction, it'll be easier, 38 and 4, oops, I apologize, they are not, they can both be divided by 2, so I get 2, and here I get 19. 51 and 17 can both be divided by 17, I get 1, here I get 3, 19 times 1 is 19, 3 times 2 is 6, so it does work out that I get 3 and 1/6. Again, you're doing the exact same thing, it gets messy because you have to use all of your rules with multiplying and dividing fractions. So when you have a multiplication equation, yes, you're going to divide both sides to get rid of the number, but then remember, dividing means you actually end up multiplying by the reciprocal. So still write this, but when you show your work, write this, then do your multiplication. For the next problem, you're going to multiply both sides by 2 and 1/3. Now remember, when you multiply, you do not have to flip and do the reciprocal, but you do have to change it to make it an improper fraction. So you do have to change these and make it d divided by 7 over 3 is equal to 25 over 6. And actually, why don't you try this one on your own, and when you come back, we'll go over your answer. So here I'm going to multiply by 7/3. So here I'm going to multiply by 7/3. So d divided by 1 equals 25 over 6. And make sure you write this extra step. It's going to make it easier when you're showing your work to double check everything. Okay, unfortunately, there isn't anything that we can simplify. So I know that d divided by 1 is d. 25 times 7 is going to be 175. 6 times 3 is 18. Okay, then I can go over here and I can figure out how many times does 18 go into 175. All right, so let's try 8. So 8 and 8 is 64. Carry the 6. 1 times 8 is 8 plus 6 is 14. Okay, so maybe, can I do 9? Probably. So 18 times 9 is 72. Carry the 7. 1 times 9 is 9, plus 7 is 16. So I can use 9. I subtract, and I end up getting 13. So I know that D is equal to 9, because that's my whole number, with 13 left over, 18ths. All right, so I know that I told you you're going to try 2 on your own. I actually want you to try one more on your own. So I gave you this one, and I did this one with you, so you're going to do 2 other ones. So you're going to do D times 2 1/3 is equal to 1 3/4. And you're also going to do D divided by 3 1/4 is equal to 1 2/3. As always, if you have any questions, please be sure to post them to Edmodo so we can go over them in class.